If you're a woman and you are only losing strength training for weight loss, you are missing out on so many wonderful ways to become a healthier version of yourself. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the benefits of strength training beyond the way you look. And especially for women, this is going to be an incredibly important episode. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your minds. Strength training
without just looking good.
Well, I had the benefit of being on a call with Dr. Gabrielle Lyons, and I did. I think you have the same benefit is through one of the coaching programs we're a part of.
Oh, okay.
And you know, she just brought up so much wonderful insights and knowledge and expertise in why we need to be stronger as a society as a whole. But more importantly, like for women, it's not just about looking great, which we love. We love a strong muscle mommy. We love a strong lady. However, if we can think about strength training to not just look a certain way, but then the benefits thereafter, what we're going to do is avoid that kind of burnout effect of like, I'm only doing this to look a certain way, because your goals can continue until 60s, 70s, 80s. And as they continue, you're going to see that your reality and the way that you experience life is going to differ so much more than the other women who are not doing this.
Yeah. And I think like when you can realize that, I guess it's that separation that we often see of like myself and my appearance and what I'm doing. And then there's so much more benefit that I can focus on instead of just appearance. Because even like what you're talking about, this longevity of it, you're not going to change your appearance by just doing it once, but you can change how you feel, you know, and we can change our bone health over time. We can change our posture over time. And some of those things aren't necessarily those change our appearance based on how we value ourselves. And one of the things we talk about in our program quite often is that internal.
I think so too, is that some of the things we're going to talk about, when you can create a foundation around paying attention and using these specific aspects of strength training as progress, the looks part comes with it.
Yeah.
You know, it's when we do it the opposite way, when we're only doing it to look a certain way and we're not focusing on the other aspects of progress, is when we either give up. Or I was in our Facebook group today and a gal's like, I've been strength training for 2 weeks and haven't seen any progress. And I'm like, well, and she thinks that she's trying to lose weight, of course, with the strength training. So we had to have a whole conversation about nutrition. So stay tuned for that. Check the show notes below. We're going to kind of banter for a little bit because y'all love to hear about our lives. And if you don't, check out the show notes and
go ahead.
Skip all of this. Just skip it. Wow. So I had a quinceañera for Brooklyn.
I know. I was bummed to miss that because we went to CPR instead.
Yeah, baby CPR. Digit CPR. It went so well. So many people showed up.
Really?
It was so sweet. Yeah. She was a hot mess, but
naturally
she couldn't get comfortable while Harlem was just chilling, and like all the dogs came. Yeah. So she had a good day, and she had such a pretty dress. If you guys, I will post it on my social media. Now that I have my own personal social media, I post on that for the friends, but people want to see Brooklyn in her dress because it was adorbs. Did you see her?
I did. That's why we were driving, and then I was like, "Oh,
my little baby." She got so many compliments. Everyone's like, "Is she going to a costume party?" I'm like, "No, it's her birthday." Moving the mic.
Well, you had a good costume this year, though, too. Speaking of,
a great costume. So, for those of you who don't know me, I take Halloween very seriously. So as a kid, my parents used to buy Halloween makeup because remember when like Halloween decor and makeup went on sale after Halloween, and they didn't just rush in Christmas decorations like they do. So they would buy the discounted stuff like the makeup, and I would sit there and I would do like different makeup, like cuts. And it was like my favorite thing. I should have been a makeup artist.
Wait. And where did you learn this? Because this is before YouTube came along. So like, how did you
did it?
Really?
Yep. Just sat there and kind of played around with it and like gradually got better with it. I also you have to realize I was a dancer. My mom's never worn makeup in her life. So like I had to figure out how to do makeup on my own and hair. So fast forward, I began to do really intricate makeup on friends and myself. And now with Mark, who enjoys Halloween, we now do these pretty elaborate Halloween costumes. We don't tell anyone what we're going to be. And I'm always making something for the costume. So we, if you did not see, I was the Statue of Liberty and he was Abraham Lincoln. Now, when I tell you my husband was the hottest Abe Lincoln, I mean, and not based on my opinion, and based on how many chicks try to hit on him while he was Abraham Lincoln, which is hilarious. He looked identical to him. It was insane. So now what I do is I go on YouTube and I find the makeup that I want to do. Now we're not just talking like half face, like my whole I had makeup in my armpits. Yeah. Like that's how deep we go. My makeup took the longest, of course, because it was my whole like torso. And I did, I wanted to make sure I had shading done, and I followed again a YouTube. And then for him, he was supposed to have a black jacket, and then last minute he realized he didn't have a black jacket, so he had to run to Goodwill while he should have been in the chair because I had hair that I was going to add to his current beard to make it more of like a longer beard. So we had to scratch that last minute, and I just did his jawline. I put super glue over his top of his lip mustache, and then foundation over it to appear like he didn't have a mustache because Abe Lincoln only had the hair around the chin. And then I did shading and made him look older, like shading through his eyes and around his mouth, and then shading on his cheeks. And then I made his eyebrows look bushier. It took me probably like 15 minutes. And literally, people complimented me. I got great compliments, but everyone complimented him. And I'm like, this shit took 15 minutes. I made my crown out of zip ties and cardboard
right now. Yeah.
And knowing, I tell people I made this crown. Look how awesome it is.
So was Mark into Halloween before he met you?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't like you dragged him into this.
No, he wasn't like doing these elaborate costumes. I mean, he was like, where's Waldo? And, tried to be a pumpkin one year. That picture of JT is one of
very
JT
cute.
came to our house. Like, oh. Yeah, he came to our house, and we have 3 buckets of like costume shit.
Oh my God.
And we just handed him a bunch of stuff, and that's what he had to tell me.
It was very cute.
He was
Did
just
Sarah
like a little,
not go?
No, Sarah's not an old town type of girl.
Yeah.
So it was really fun, and I was gonna make a torch, and then I had bought that bubble torch, but that torch was beige, so I had to spray paint that too. So the torch, and oh my God. That thing was a hit by the end of the night because like everyone was like dancing and taking the torch and like
of course.
And anytime like a New York song came on, people were like singing to me. Oh, it was so fun. I had a blast.
How long now? The question is, you guys get home. How long does it take you to get all this off of you?
So I used just my like dry scrubber brush, and I think I was in the shower for like 10 minutes. Mark had to like get my back. I did wake up and realize I still had some in my armpits. So, yeah, but it's gone. And then I had a little bit in my hair because I had put the crown on my head before I had the wig on. Because that's a wig. That's not my real hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not my hair.
I guess
so. I had a little bit of paint in my hair, but yeah. Now we're going to JT and Sarah's for actual Halloween because our street doesn't have a street light.
Oh.
So no one comes down it.
Trick-or-treaters, yeah.
No. So we're going to go to their house and drive around the golf cart and hand out candy.
Oh, cute.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I need to figure out, normally on Halloween, like I'll do like a scarecrow face or like we were nerds one year, or we can, maybe I'll do like a cat or something, something simple.
You keep it basic on the actual day.
Yes. I don't
Okay.
know why we don't enter Halloween costume contests.
Well, now you know. Next year is your year.
Everyone's like, you're going to win the contest. I'm like, what contest? I'm not here for a contest.
Tell me
But
where the contest is.
tell me where the contest is. I'm going to win
Yeah.
this bitch because this is original.
I know.
I wore that dress is actually a bridesmaid's dress. Apparently, I bought it not for a wedding.
Where'd you buy it? Like
Amazon.
online?
I
Oh,
got
really?
Amazon. My shoes on Amazon.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
Amazon or Spirit Halloween store. So
Well, that's good, Christina. Good for you.
thank you. I will post. Well, you should have seen him already.
Yeah.
By the time this airs, I'm not posting him again. Actually, I am doing a reel on Thanksgiving that has some of the pictures in it.
Oh, really? What's the reel?
Yeah. Or not Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. On Halloween. The
Oh,
reel
okay.
is my yearly annual reminder. Halloween candy is just regular candy dressed up in its little Halloween costume. You can get it at any time. You don't have to hoard it. You don't have to hide it, binge
No.
it. You can go to the store and buy it whenever you want.
Whenever
Anytime.
you want. Yep. Anytime. Any day.
Any candy.
Any of it. Yeah. Mecca went and got like 5 bags. I was like, oh, that's so much. But
5? Oh my God.
We have a lot of
I had to give away
trick-or-treaters, though.
candy to my neighbors last year. I'm like, do you
Well,
want
that's
this?
what I said last year, because last year he ditched me because he went to the World Series game. And I was like, we did not need that much candy. And so he's like, well, we'll just, and I'm like, what? Like, I
Eat
don't,
it?
yeah,
all?
like,
Here's what he
yeah,
wants.
like, I know. Like, what? We're just going to eat it? Like, because I don't really like candy. Like, I'm more of
Neither
like
do
a
I.
cookie or like a pastry girl. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
all right.
speaking of pastries, for Brooklyn's birthday, we went to our little bakery here and bought a bunch of pastries and cake for her.
Aw.
And then it's not dog food, it's regular human food. And I was like, is this regular food? I'm like, she's 15.
Yeah. Like,
What do we, is she going to die? Well, because I'm pretty sure she's going to die anyways sometime soon here. Calm down. So
she can eat it.
that's me. Yeah. How was CPR? Do you feel like you can save your baby's life? Or
I do feel like I can save my baby's life. I'm actually really glad we went, even though
Okay.
it was. So here's the most annoying part is, so we're sitting there and it's just us and another couple. And she's like, oh, so only 4 couples. So I was supposed to have like, I don't know, 6 or something. And she's like, we'll get done early. And I'm like, fuck yes. Cause it's like supposed to be a 2-hour class.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, ugh. So we start and these people show up late, but this guy, so she's like talking about this, like, okay, so she did the adults first. And apparently when you give adults the Heimlich or CPR or something like that, they'll throw up. Okay. And so for our people who are listening that know all this, wonderful. So I was like, oh, okay. So we passed time and then this guy comes in late and then he starts interrupting her and making her restate what she's already stated, essentially. So it would be like, so she talked about that and he goes, did you tell them about, and she's like, what do you mean? He goes, well, how someone might get ill after you do. She's like, yep, we covered that. And I'm like, this motherfucker. So I'm like, yeah. So I'm like starting to get like where I'm going to be like, sir, you showed up late. She's already covered half of this. Up. And you apparently already know all this. So I don't know why the fuck you're talking. And so Michael's was doing like his nice little pat to me of like, it's okay. I'm like, it's not okay. It's fucking rude. And so we had one of those, which is fine.
You're not a people pleaser.
Yeah. And I was going to call him out. So I actually learned when people are choking, and again, some of you might notice, like the item is not dislodged deep in the throat. It's usually like on top of the throat. And so I
didn't know that.
See? So we think it's like deep, and it's like, no. And then even if you have a baby, you don't want to try and scoop it out. You want to just leave it and do your like little like those, whatever that is, the little like just fucking swats on their back,
the heel of the hand,
heel in between the shoulder blades, and you want them upside down. You don't want them upside up, because if they're upside up, like upside down is more of a relaxing position for them. So, and you just got to hammer it. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, I really hope this never happens to me. Yeah. And so it was good.
I choked on a piece of ice as a baby.
Well, good, because it melted. My mom told me, and I choked on popcorn one time, and I was like, ugh. And then also, if they're like coughing, you don't want to pat their back. You just let them cough, because that's the body's way of figuring out like how to correct itself. So I can save a baby now. We'll put it that
Yay.
way. Yay. Yeah.
What is lactation balls?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm trying this is gonna be so gross for you.
Great. Great, everyone.
I could make my boobies do some colostrum this weekend. So I was like, oh my gosh. So what I want is like they have these, you can make these lactation balls and there's
What
like
does do colostrum mean?
like
Have a milky discharge?
yes, if I push in my boob and kind of squeeze it, it'll have some like discharge come out, but it's colostrum because I don't have milk yet. So like for the first couple of days with the baby, they take colostrum because their stomachs are so small, and then as like by day 5, then you're producing milk. So I was like playing with my boobs a little bit before shower. Like not intentionally, not to like, get hot and heavy, but I was just like, I wonder if I got it yet. And then it came out and I was like, oh shit. And of course Michael's like, that's disgusting. Thank you. So, but the lactation balls, like there's certain ingredients that are to help like produce milk. And so more so of like, I want an option to have that I can just eat really quickly that would be beneficial, So I was like, oh, I'll just make some of those. So we'll see.
Gotcha. So Amanda posted a picture where she had like rosemary tea and something else and a pineapple. And my first inkling is, are you guys swingers now? Are we putting the pineapple upside down in front of the house?
I do have pineapple decorations in the house too. So
swingers.
I know. So we did that. And then I'm trying to think.
Oh, by the way, I've Googled Tough Shed podcast studios, and we're going to start working on it this weekend.
Oh, really?
We're going to go in there and like, there's some legit studios. So we're going to take everything out. And there's a guy here in Phoenix who's an MMA guy who your guy might know.
Probably.
Who his name is like Franquino de Santos or something like that. He did a whole Tough Shed podcast build out. So I texted him or messaged him on Instagram and he responded back. And I was like, can you send me your people that did this for you? And he said, yes. So thank you. So we are looking to build our own studio, you guys, because everyone wants a lot of money.
Well,
sidebar. 3 episodes a week. Well, tough shit. Kind of like when you strength train, you're tough shit. So we're going to talk today about benefits of strength training beyond looking good. Now, I want, like I said in the beginning here, like when you can learn to enjoy the process and the progress beyond the way you look, the looks come.
Yes.
Because the consistency of being like, fuck yeah, I just lifted X amount. Today, I have to talk about my lifts this morning in this. You'll be like, oh, this is great. Like, oh my God, like I was able, maybe you have a big dog and your dog, before would like run into you, like fall, lose your balance. And now you're like steady. I mean, just stupid shit like that you don't even realize like, oh, this is working, right? This is really working. Once you do that, you won't get, the give up mentality and you're going to see progress. So we define strength training as resistance training, putting a, stress on the muscle through dumbbell work, kettlebell work, barbells, bands, whatever that looks like. Usually have a rep range, sets, rest, progressive overload. If you want more information on that, you can check out our previous episodes. This is not your normal, like you see on TV with like the high intensity workouts, circuit training, Orange Theory, any of that, because that is going to be a cardio workout. And that is not what we're talking about today. We're talking about traditional lifting, putting a stress on the muscle, allowing for rest in between those lifts to let the body do its thing to help adapt to that stress. Adaptation process ultimately makes you stronger, thus building more lean body mass, thus making you more shapely and strong. So that's that. Why, Coach Amanda, do we have such an aesthetics focus? Okay, let's talk about this.
Okay.
What prior to, I would say the past like 5 years, what did women think about like the way that they should change their body? And then why is strength training now becoming that thing?
Meaning like they thought they would do cardio and eat less is how
Yes.
yeah. Okay. I'm like, let me make sure I know where you're going with this. So
Yeah.
before people were like, I got to do cardio and eat less, and not realizing like cardio is a what we would term a catabolic state. So catabolic is a
Mhm.
breaking down of muscle essentially to be used for energy. If you like, again, preface this, if you like running, you like rowing and all the cardio stuff, and that's what keeps you active, wonderful. But
Mhm.
if we want to build like a lean looking muscular, and I want to say muscular, but with a caveat there too, because when we talk about strength training, they think like, oh, I don't want to be so muscular. And it's like, trust me, you won't. Um, it's
I was
very
listening to
much,
Jordan Sayat today, like on his like little shorts that he
uh-huh,
has. And he goes, I've been strength training since I was 13.
yeah.
I'm scrawny and I used to, he used to he used to deadlift 500 pounds at 135 pounds.
Oof, that's a lot.
I know. It's a lot.
Jesus.
But
So
he's still a
yeah,
little guy.
it's this focus. So we often do exercise. What I tend to see women who start to want to exercise is to compensate for a lack of how they appreciate their body, meaning they don't like how they look. They think exercise is the solution to feel better about how they look and change how they look. Whereas some of that can be true, but some of that's going to come from other attributes of health. So that's one thing to consider. But when we talk about why there was such a focus on aesthetics, is because one, it was really promoted to women to do running, right? Like, and also gym is
Mhm.
intimidating, like, especially if it's a bro and they're always in there. But also, three, it's easy to eat less. And that was kind of always the motto of just eat less, just eat less. And then that's passed
Mhm.
down from generation to generation, right? And then not everybody's interested in the things that we're interested in. So they're not interested in studying why eating less isn't actually the best thing, why running isn't actually the best thing for what you're trying to look. That's our job. That's why you hire a coach. But
Mhm.
we see this kind of aesthetics push because we're so uncomfortable in our body. And then that's also presented through social media, right? Or through our
Mhm.
culture or through our general relationships. Whereas what we're going to talk about today is yes, you can get the aesthetic outcome, but so many things are going to come before that. And then the
Yep.
aesthetic outcome, how you look, is going to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, it just shifted, like you said, from that cardio eat less to now
Uh-huh.
strength training and you'll look a certain way. But like you're saying, what we're not realizing is how much research has been on strength training
Yes.
as a modality in general for so many other things beyond aesthetics, right? And things that in our brains we think are out of our control, right? As I mentioned, I had sat through this we'll say it's not a webinar talk. It was a talk with Dr.
Mhm.
Gabrielle Lyon, and just every single question, whether it was on wheelchair bound individuals, osteoporosis, PCOS, menopause and metabolism, every single answer, strength train plus
Right.
dot dot dot.
Well,
And that is so important. I mean, we'll think of osteoporosis in women, right? PCOS. These are things that are on the rise. Even obesity, she believes, is not a metabolic issue in the way that we think it is. It's an under muscled issue that then is causing the metabolic challenges that we see in individuals.
right.
Under muscled meaning lacking muscle mass.
Well, and even the studies that we pulled for this. So, one of them is you're going to see reductions in anxiety, reductions in pain intensity with low back pain, reductions in osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, improvements in cognition with older adults, sleep quality among depressed adults, reductions in symptoms of depression, and then reductions in fatigue symptoms, improvements in self esteem. The other ones are improved mobility, cognitive function, cancer survivorship, which I was like, oh, that's cool.
Well,
Metabolic
we think,
health.
just to say something there,
Uh-huh.
I don't, and I'm not gonna, don't quote me guys, but the way I understand like the HIV epidemic was, it was when people, sarcopenia took over was a reason why people often didn't survive
Really?
because of the complications of
Oh,
the virus. Maybe we'll look that up for the peeps.
let's get into what we're actually seeing improves with strength training other than
Yes.
how you look.
So muscle strength is obviously a big one. That's like a duh, right? So strength training, builds and helps maintain muscle mass, which can enhance overall strength and endurance. So when I say the word strength, I want people to think about it as pulling or pushing more weight over time.
Yeah.
Pushing, pulling, pressing more weight over time. Carrying, thank you. Because when I teach people about the difference in like the strength phase of training, they just assume because it's called strength training, that's the entire aspect of strength training. But we have, as we talked about, strength, hypertrophy, endurance, power is in there, but we don't touch on that as much. We will with the individuals who are, Olympic lifters and power lifters who we interview on this podcast. So the strength part of it really is, getting stronger, being able to push and pull and do all the things over time. Now, yes, there's an aspect of strength, the strength phase of training that will, build that muscle. And then in hypertrophy, we're kind of defining that muscle. And that's all within the rep range. But I had a wonderful conversation and I'm putting together a reel for one of my clients. She is working on Zercher squats right now.
Ooh.
And the reason being is her husband has MS and is wheelchair bound. And she and I talked about specific mechanics and like movements that we need to work on to get him up. So Zercher.
Yeah.
And then we did what was the other thing we added? I forgot, but it was one where like she is on the ground and we're pulling him up. And
like a high row or something like that.
Yeah. I don't remember the exact movement we decided. Yeah. That's strength.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before. Like when Brooklyn can't walk, I have to pick her up.
Right.
That's the strength that I'm talking about. And of course, it feels good mentally. So if we're going to talk about the emotional or like the mindset side of things. But when you can begin to like fall in love with the process of getting stronger, meaning you're seeing reps go up, you're seeing weight go up, you're utilizing the rest. That is such a wonderful example of how we do hard things and our body responds and our body will adjust and adapt. So we think about strength training in the nervous system. We're putting on the stress on the nervous system for that short period of time. We allow ourselves to calm down during the rest and our body comes back down and we're ready to do it again, right? Tell me where that doesn't apply in every aspect of hard things in your life.
Right.
And so falling in love with that strength process not only is getting stronger, being able to do, like I said, push, pull, press, carry heavier things over time, helping individuals or functionally being able to pick up stuff or people or whatever it is, but also it's just such a like metaphor for life when we're getting stronger.
Yes.
So that's one of my big ones is falling in love with, I feel like such a badass when I am able to add a plate.
The word is like falling in love with the resiliency of your body and what it's able to do.
I love that.
Thesaurus. Because I'm thinking about like so even like on your days where you feel weaker, because there are going to be times where you feel weaker in the gym, it's just naturally, but then able to keep going and go back and go back and go back, and not like an overtraining sense, but to realize like it's just a one-off, or maybe I was sick and I'm rebounding and whatnot. So you're able to see like, oh, my body wasn't able to do this. Like, for example, we talk about being able to put your suitcase overhead in the airplane. Like I wasn't able to do that. And now I can do that. So that creates kind of this confidence boost as well. But not only that, can you see how much more you can eat? Because when we talk about, I know this is like, okay, so let's go back to the eating less. So when we're in this running, eat less state, I'm going to have to continue to eat less in order to keep meeting my body because I'm burning muscle, right? And I'm putting this in like very basic science terms. So just stay with me. Now, if I keep, thank you.
Here I am.
If I keep burning muscle for energy, then my body doesn't need to utilize the energy that I'm putting in. This is why we see you have to keep running longer and more, and then eating less and eating less. So it's that hamster wheel. Whereas if I keep building strength training, what I'm going to end up doing is be able to eat more because my muscle is taking so much energy to build and repair and recover. So I can eat more to feed it. Great. It's going to grow. Eat more to feed it. Great. It's going to grow. Great. It's going to recover and work on that. Okay, great. Now it's going to take structure. Great. Now it's going to go into that strength phase. And so this is where we see women who they're very scared to increase their calories, but yet they want the muscle. Well, in order to get the muscle, we have to feed the body nutrients to build it. Okay, now that we've got it, we've got to feed the body nutrients to recover it. Meaning, because there's like little micro tears that happen when you strength train as you get stronger. Right. And so we want those to be able to repair themselves, because if they can't, then we're overtraining and you're going to end up getting like pulled muscles or injuries or pain or discomfort. So it's the beauty that we can also continue to build muscle. Now, this is the other thing too, is take the scale away out of it too. Because if you're constantly looking to lose weight, but yet you're losing fat mass, but gaining muscle, that scale may not change, but your body composition will. So here's where we talk about your trade-off eventually coming with the aesthetics of it.
Yes, exactly. And that's, a mindset shift in itself. If I get on a scale, or maybe you shouldn't actually wait during that process, but like say you do want to get on the scale and it's not moving and you've always been someone that the scale's moved, that's going to be a mindset shift in itself. But over time, you will see so many other differences beyond the scale that it literally won't matter anymore. I was thinking about something today of clients have texted me, oh, I stepped on the scale and I was this weight. And it'll be like 125, right? And that's like the highest weight they've been, or 130, whatever their number is, right? Because they hit that number because maybe they're on their cycle, or this is the number I was when I was pregnant, and why am I hitting it? And most of the time, it's less than I weigh.
Correct.
And I want to say that, like, well, if you think about yourself so poorly at 125, what do you think about me? And the answer is, well, you have a lot of muscle. And I'm like, well, then if that's okay, that's the case. I have all this muscle and I weigh 25 pounds more than you. Maybe this scale doesn't mean shit. Maybe we focus on maybe gaining weight on the scale. If you're okay with this 150,
right.
And you're not okay with your 125, like, let's eat some more. Let's do this the right way so that no matter what the scale says, you can look at yourself like you somehow justify it in me.
Right.
In the same way, So I was thinking about that. Hopefully I articulated that correctly.
You did. Yeah, you did. Essentially of like, if you're going to judge yourself at weighing 125, then how would you judge me at 155?
Right.
And it's like
150.
150.
I'm very proud of that. I saw 149.9 the other day.
Yeah. Well, and even you could say to me, like, okay, so what did I weigh? I think I weigh 173 right now, give or take. Who knows? Like, so if I'm coaching this client who's concerned about the 125 and I'm like, well, I'm 173, they'd be like, well, you're pregnant. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, should I have gained weight pregnancy wise? Yes. Well, yeah, but I don't want to gain that much weight pregnancy wise. And it's like, okay, but why is it okay that I do it? And as a coach, it's just that mind fuck.
I will say this particular client, she said she had reached out and said, I weighed myself. She hasn't weighed herself in a while. This is a client who has been in recovery for an eating disorder. Okay. We don't track food. I mean, we track more like nutrients and making sure she's getting enough calories in. She's between 21 and 2,200 calories.
That's awesome.
And her body composition is changing. She's strength training, I believe, 3 days a week. But she did get on the scale, and we talked about why, and we talked about what she was looking for from that scale, right? The validation or lack thereof. So I put the weight that she weighed in. I said, with reduced body fat overall, more muscle mass, stronger in the gym, more shapes, curves, less bloated, leaner core, more energized, enjoying life. That is your enter weight. Then I put her sick weight or less, sick, lacking shape, weak, tired. What else would you add to this? She put her new weight, clothes fit better, partner can't keep his hands off of me, overall feeling more confident, feeling of pride and respect for myself and continuing this journey, cooking and eating with my family, making time for myself, her sick weight, depressed, anxious, withdrawn, unmotivated, distant from my family, and ended with thank you and a heart. So anyway, I know I kind of went off on a tangent, but
no, but I mean, it's important. Again, all those things that come into play here between getting stronger, the weight, and then her ability to eat more. But then even she mentioned
metabolically, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to go into like the bone health. You know, we know for people who have eating disorders is it have eating disorders, or I forget the terms now. Anyways, diagnosed with an eating disorder, that their bone health is at risk too. Like they have a higher risk of osteoporosis. And so how do we, recover that? How do we build that back?
Right. Well, and osteoporosis is a silent disease, and the signs of it up front is low muscle mass. Right. So with osteoporosis, and this is coming from my notes, treatment includes resistance training, focusing on strength instead of hypertrophy. Heavier loads for these individuals is very valuable. Then she goes into dietary protein for the fact that bone is made from protein, so having that protein in. And then also evidence supports also adding calcium, magnesium, K2, and vitamin D supplement. So what we don't realize is that your strength training is increasing your bone density, right? And so when we're increasing our bone density, what we're reducing is fractures, is broken hips. And that breaking your hip in later age increases all-cause mortality. And the likelihood of you surviving a hip break is, what is it like?
It's not good.
I know there's specific statistics. So I've talked about my mother-in-law and how we have a lot of discussions around her health because she's so healthy. She walks every day, and then she gardens. And when she gardens, she's pushing and pulling a wheelbarrow. So that she's not strength training in the traditional sense, but she is. She's squatting. She's getting down, getting up, walking up incline, walking down an incline, pushing and pulling that wheelbarrow. And I asked her, I go, what made it so important for you? And for her, and for a lot of women listening, she is a breast cancer survivor. She went through chemotherapy, and that in itself will affect her bone health. And so she said, I have to keep my bones strong. And this is the woman who plays pickleball with ladies 10 years younger than her and likes to dive for the ball. And when I was with her in Pittsburgh, she straight up fell on her face, got up, cleaned herself off, didn't have any sort of issue. No, I mean, she had like some bruising. She was a little bit sore, but she could have hurt herself. She's 82. And she was like, put a Band-Aid on. She's from Texas. Put a Band-Aid on. She doesn't have that accent like I'm doing. It's like a very sweet Southern accent. She had like pain in her rib and her knee, but she went to pickleball like the next week.
Oh my God.
I want to be that person.
Yeah.
Like that shit makes me, even on the day that I don't want to go in the gym, and not saying, I'm obviously, if it's needs to be a rest day. But just today, I'm just like, hey, for my future self and my future bones, get your ass in that gym and do something.
Right.
Because I don't want to break
your hip. Is that studies have shown that 1-year mortality rate after a hip fracture can be as high as 20 to 30%, even with timely surgical intervention. Like that's pretty high.
Right. And keep in mind, gals, if we've been running
Oof.
before this for a long time, those bones need this because they are fragile. We have a girlfriend who broke her hip in her 30s, and she broke it because she was a physique competitor. Her bones were shit, and she just stepped the wrong way and broke her hip
Holy hell.
twice. Yeah. It's not my friend. It's a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. That may be like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do that.
That doesn't rock you on your socks not to do physique. I don't know what.
Well, and obviously increasing like your joint function too.
Right.
So we're going to enhance that joint function when we strengthen those muscles around our joints, right? Again, it's going to improve your stability. It's going to reduce the risk of injury, right? So beyond bones, I mean, I shouldn't say beyond bones, we've got the joint part of it too, right? So now we're like fully musculoskeletal system.
Right.
That strength training is offering support. We have the strength aspect, building lean muscle mass. We have bone health. We have joint health. So that whole function in your body, that whole system is promoted by strength training. And I want to say this, I get shit for this all the time because I work with a lot of physicians. You don't have to stop moving strength training when you're injured.
No.
You can actually use strength training to your benefit. Now, it's not going to be what you used to be doing, but mobility is strength in movement and flexibility and balance. It's not just, as people think, is flexibility. Flexibility can actually be, if not done right, damaging.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, because a lot of the providers that I work with that refer to us, they are very big proponents of like, nope, keep moving. Nope, keep moving. Like we will figure it out. Because once you start that sedentary, it's almost like thinking of, and I honestly like pregnancy is one of the best examples of it. So if you have been pregnant or you're going through pregnancy, I encourage you, like, as much shit as you feel like, just do some mobility or just move, because it just feels so much better for your body. And even like think of like, even just after, we'll say like this chick broke her hip and she's going to physical therapy. She should feel so good after going to physical therapy because she's getting these joints to move. She's getting those muscles to move. And then they're building that strength and kind of recreating those pathways away from pain and more for like a firmer structure to help kind of build and repair that issue too. So.
Yeah, I have a physician. He won't let me add any deadlifts to his training, so I do a lot of hip thrusts. And the other day he sent me like a kneeling hip thrust, like a kneeling squat. He goes, "I love these hip thrusts. I know they're necessary for my messed up body. Can I add this in?" And it was a kneeling squat. I believe I'd already added that in, but it was like one of the influencers doing it. And he goes, "Don't mind the sleaziness of this video."
Okay.
But I'm proud of him because I think he's finally seeing like his back. Now we still don't do traditional hip or hip hinging in regards to a deadlift, but I'm still getting him to hinge those hips in other ways that he doesn't realize.
Well, that's interesting that you bring up that point too, because you started alluding to like his back pain or some kind of pain that he's having, is that a strength training can also help with pain with the posture stance. So thinking of like, most of us work at a desk now, so we've got the rounded shoulders, our butt is tucked in, our hips hurt from sitting on them all fucking day, our shoulders hurt because we don't move them, the upper back is tight. And so when we talk about strength training, essentially look at it as like a tug of war between what your body's doing throughout the day, and the strength training is kind of bringing that back to that neutral point, but also creating a better posture so it can reduce the risk of these pains, right? So maybe like, okay, deadlifting is one, hip thrusts are one to help build the glutes and support the hips, but also like rowing, right? So I can row, and so that's going to keep my body more upright. Even working on my like butt and my hamstrings, that's going to help with how my posture and standing up, instead of having this butt tuck that we see a lot.
Right.
So it's going to improve overall alignment, which is going to make you feel better as well.
Yeah. I've already touched on this part, but the mental health benefits
so much
of strength training. There are numerous scholarly papers out there, that research papers that promote strength training for reduction of anxiety,
Yep.
depression. I will even say in the clients that I work with that have been in recovery of an eating disorder, it gives them when we focus on getting stronger, it gives them a totally different relationship with exercise because this entire episode is what we're working on with them.
Mhm.
Because we're not working on aesthetics. Because if we do, then we're feeding into that eating disorder mentality. We focus on getting stronger. Now, getting stronger might mean her ass looks better. So I guess can be aesthetics, but that's not our focus.
Right.
But hey, does it make my girls feel good when they have some curves instead of that childlike body that maybe the anorexia was trying to keep them in? Yes, because it's a different relationship with self.
Mm-hmm.
Boosting your self-esteem in so many ways. I've already talked about it. Looking at that barbell and saying, I can't lift that up, right? Didn't we just talk about this the other day?
Probably.
Or did I talk about it with someone else? Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to lift this today.
Yeah.
And you do it. And you drop that bar and you're like, I did it. Again, that is an example of your life of, I didn't think I can do it. I picked it up and figured it out with proper form.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. So from that to just choosing yourself in that day, choosing to move as a pregnant gal, choosing to move because I know it's going to help me feel better. I'm listening to my body, trusting my body, doing something for it that it's communicating to me that it wants. And that's me taking care of me, which ultimately is going to help build my self-esteem.
Right. Well, and even one of my favorite things that I miss about in training, and if you have a good in-person trainer, they might do this to you, is like sneaking on the weight. Because so like not telling you like what kind of weight, you just go, oh, just pick it up. This is what like, and I would be like, this is what you did last week. It's fine. And then they're like, okay. And then they do it. And then they kind of look at me and I'm like, yeah, no, I added 5 pounds, which 5 pounds sometimes isn't a huge jump, but when you're hesitant to strength train or you haven't done it before, or you're scared of hurting yourself, it's a big mental. So then you go, oh, wow, like 5 more pounds. Like, yes, that feels great. And they just feel so much better and they improve your mood and you feel like more confident putting your bag up in the overhead bin at the airport because you know it weighs less than the barbell.
Well, think about this. People will be ecstatic if they lost 5 pounds. They'd be upset if they gained 5 pounds. You just put 5 pounds on the bar. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, it is a big deal. And again, with keeping in mind, I was talking to Adrienne about this today because she's doing her this weekend, about doing the minimum workouts. I go, well, I'm proud of you for sticking to your minimums, even though your brain says I want to do more, because I know everything else going on in your life mentally and emotionally. I said, you are pulling from the reserve that you have, and 2 workouts is not only enough, probably is the top of the max that you need.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So good. Speaking of that, right? It can help your energy level as long as we are balancing that in a way, right? So I know for me, like today, I worked out this morning, and normally on Mondays, if I don't get a workout in, Mondays just drag along. I'm rocking and rolling today because I got my workout in, and I feel good about it. I had those endorphins released. I have all my energy, and I'm just, I feel good.
It's interesting you say that because last week I thought like, oh, I'm not going to work out today because it's a longer day. And last week I was like, oh my God, dragging by the end of it. And then today I was like, oh, I'll work out today. And now I'm like, it's 2:00. Usually by 2:00, I'm like, okay, I need a nap.
Same.
I know. So I'm like, okay, like I need to make the effort to work out on Mondays, even though it's my longer day. And that doesn't mean like I hit it hard, but it just means I do what feels good. So, and I also wonder if some of this increased energy level is coming from, okay, so I'm working out, building muscle. In order to do that, we need to eat more. So I'm feeling myself appropriately as well. So it's multiple things that you can check off in that positivity box that we're talking about.
Positivity box.
Yeah, lots of positivity boxes here.
Yes. Last few here. we already talked about, not wanting to fall down and go boom when we strength train. So, and it's so nice because I remember when I started doing barbell reverse lunges, and this was only about 3 years ago with an actual like heavy barbell on my back. I really had to go slow. Now I'm like, boom, boom, like, let's go. I feel so much better because my balance is improved tremendously.
Right.
And I'm a dancer.
Well, and I think people forget that strength training can improve balance, but then I also think they forget that strength training can improve cardiovascular health as well, right? So you'll see a lot of people who come into our ethosphere and they're like, well, where's the cardio? I want to work on my heart health. And I'm like, no worries. Strength training will do that for you as well.
No.
If you want more heart health, go for a fucking walk. But because
Right.
you got to think of all of this blood circulating through your system while you're strength training. You got to think your blood pressure, it's going to reduce that. You got to think, okay, I've got to learn how to control my breathing because your breathing on a 5x5 is going to be way different on a 2x16, for example. And your rest times are going to change that aspect as well. So overall, your cardio function is going to help. It just because it's not considered a cardio workout doesn't mean you're not getting benefits for that heart health either. And I see a lot of people
my heart rate's going up.
Yeah, that's what
It doesn't spike like crazy, but like
no.
Here's the thing. I don't do cardio. I did add some sprints into this phase of training. Cause I like, as I've talked about before, I kind of bring them in, bring them out. Cause there's that idea, like after 40, we rarely run. And I'm like, I had to run. I had to run to the meter because I forgot to put money in there. Remember? I was like running in my like regular clothes. It was hilarious, but I got there and I wasn't winded and I wasn't doing any training outside of strength training.
Right.
To be able to do that. So my cardiovascular health is just fine.
Correct.
And I don't do, I might sprint here and there, but it's more just to prove to everyone that 40-year-olds can sprint.
Correct.
Yeah. Last one, athletic performance. Speaking of sprinting, as we talked about many times, you see the sprinters in the Olympics, they're fucking jacked. They look amazing, aesthetics, but that's not why they look amazing. They're not strength training to look that way. They're strength training to improve their athletic performance, agility, endurance, of course, and power, right? There's a lot of power, in the 100-meter dash. And there's a lot of power from, the push off that we need to get there. There's a lot of power in being able to do a leap in the air. There's a lot of, just so many things. So for athletes, it's going to help with your overall athletic performance.
Right. And so what I want to touch on too, or sorry, did you want to add something? I cut you off. Is something that we always come back to is, okay, now how do you do this? Right. And so this is where we have plenty of episodes on that, but to make it short and sweet for this guy is, what are your goals? Right? Is it to get stronger? Is it to feel better in my body? Like, get really honest with what that means. But you also need to look at your schedule and get realistic with it. So for example, how much time do I have to devote to this? And we've talked about this before. If you've got 15 minutes per day, that's totally fine. If you've only got an hour per week, totally fine. But we need to realize, like we were talking in the beginning, it doesn't just happen that one time or that second time. It takes the resiliency of going back and back and creating this consistency with it, progressively overloading, following a program, and then to find what your bare minimum is. So you brought up Adrienne. Her lifestyle is nuts, in my opinion. That's just between her job and they travel all the freaking time. And her bare minimums of working out are twice per week. Now I have 3 workouts programmed in there without the expectation that she's going to meet that third. If she does, great. But if she doesn't, I don't say anything about it. And she doesn't hopefully beat herself up over it. So she's got 2 times a week that she can do. That's wonderful. And that's keeping her consistent. Whereas before she was not consistent. She would start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. So you have to find what can you do that's consistent. And maybe even going back to our seasons episode, that changes with the time of year or the time of your life or the phase of your life. And so I think the important part is too, of when you're going and you're not feeling adequate or you're not seeing these changes, is to constantly remind yourself of all of these benefits that we've worked through today. So that way you can say, okay, there are some benefits here that I'm not necessarily seeing. And that's what's going to keep me going, because I feel better, because I feel more mobile, because I feel stronger when I do this, because I can pick my husband up now without being like, holy cow, I've got to take the day off tomorrow. So that's constantly reminding yourself of this.
Right. And also, just to add to that, like when you're looking at your goals, also being very real about those goals. Like, what does it look like to be able to, as you've said in here a couple of times, put my luggage up in the overhead bin? Well, I should see an increase over time in my overhead press, right? Or my push press and my row, right? And like having very specific goals around that, because then it gets really fun, because in any given week, you're going to see improvements in one of those. So now, yay me, win. I had a win that week. And for the other, 2 workouts, I maintained the weight I was last week. Great. Weight on the bar, of course. Being very specific in, I'm going to be able to do a lunge without having to put my hand on something for balance. Because again, over time, you're going to see that progress, and that's going to keep you wanting to come back for more, which will keep you consistent, which ultimately, as we've mentioned multiple times, will bring to you the changes in your body that are more aesthetic. And so that's really important. I wanted to say one other thing that we didn't touch on that I think is important too, is for those of you, trigger warning, who've also struggled with being victims in your own bodies. Strength training can be so, what's the word? Invigorating's not the word. I mean, it's empowering to get strong. It's empowering to feel like you can defend yourself. It's empowering. Honestly, this is aesthetics, but I know no one's going to fuck with me, because if you look at my arms, I'll probably kick your ass. That is empowering. As someone who's been a victim in her own body, that is very empowering. And it can help, of course, reduce anxiety, reduce depression. And what I mean by that is anyone who's been in an assault type of situation, it can definitely help with that. So just wanted to plug that in there too.
Christina,
another plug.
Yeah. Where can they get a well-tailored strength training program that makes them feel strong and empowered?
The Mindset of Movement app, ladies and gentlemen. The Mindset of Movement app is designed by myself and the coaches here at the Mindset of Matter. We have 4 training phases or training programs to choose from. And the beautiful thing about each program is they all have the same structure. They're just placed in a different, they're just in different scenarios. So you have a gym workout, you have a dumbbell only workout. So that might be at home. That might be when you're traveling at a hotel. You have body weight workouts, and you have time crunch workouts. So think different scenarios. I can only do it at home because I have a new baby at home. You might do the time crunch, which is dumbbell only and body weight, or you might do the dumbbell only. But, oh no, I have time now. I'm going to go to the gym. You can go to the gym. Now, the gym and the dumbbell only are 5-day splits. You don't have to do all 5 days. The time crunch is a 3-day split. The body weight and bands is a 3-day split. Plus, I also add in an additional core that you can add on to any of those training programs. So the beautiful thing about the Mindset of Movement app is we have a community forum where people can share their wins. I will say the more people I can get in the app, the better, because right now we just have a very small community of folks. So it's $1 for the first month and then $29 after that. And the more people we get in it, the better we can make it, because the people who have been in it have given us great feedback. They love the workouts. They love that they're able to track their reps, sets, weights. Everything is in there for you. Rep range, rest range, if it's a superset, if it's a drop set. We explain everything, including video, instructional videos, bulleted instructions, as well as any additional notes that we need. And every month you get a new set of workouts, but you get access to the previous month's workouts for 2 months. So you'll have your full first month. So say you're someone who likes to do a workout program for 8 weeks, you have the option to do this month's workout for 8 weeks.
Yeah, I will say for my clients who worked with me in person and then transferred to that, they really enjoy it too. because they're like, oh, yeah, they're like,
Yay!
oh, it's not like they'll like one of them texted me the other day, like, oh, that's nice that there's a time crunch one in there because she has like 3 kids. She's like, so all this shit was happening and I was able to do it. I'm like, oh, good. I'm glad that's working for you.
Well, now with what Liz sent over, I'll have a bunch of different programs in there. So good. Good. So that is that. So again, there's so much more to it. If you're looking to live longer, strength training.
Yep.
As you see, hands down, you will live longer by strength training and putting more muscle mass on your body. You will have reduced all-cause mortality because most of the issues we see in the world today are due to metabolic challenges, we'll say. What's the actual word? Metabolic
Isn't it dysfunction? Yeah.
Okay. Cut that, Ira. Everything we've talked, anything you see, whether it's high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, those are like metabolic dysfunctions, and having a higher lean body mass will reduce the likelihood of receiving those unless it's something genetic. But even then, my whole family has diabetes. Guess what I don't have? Everyone. Well, on my dad's side. Every single aunt and uncle, and I wouldn't be surprised if my cousins don't have it now, have diabetes type 2. Guess what I don't have? Type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
So there's that. So again, once you fall in love with this, once you make it about the things that we do here, all of that aesthetic stuff will fall into place. And we hope that you guys take advantage of our $1 for the first month on the Mindset of Movement app to help us out to get this podcast to more people. We'd love for you to subscribe to our channels on YouTube, as well as follow our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to this podcast. We're still looking for some more reviews, y'all. We haven't had a review in quite some time, and we are working on some legit shit to give away for reviews. So maybe that's what people are waiting for.
The giveaways.
I have an idea. Here we go. 10 5-star rating and reviews. And I will pick 3 winners out of those 10. And you'll get a whole year of the Mindset Movement app. So
on Apple Podcasts specifically.
On Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow too on Instagram at the Mindset of Matter Coaching and fitbyamanda.az. I already talked about YouTube, and we are sharing more and more content on there, shorts and our normal podcast recording. So that is that. At the end of the day, especially if we are focusing on other means of progress with strength training, you will experience this one thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror. Goodbye.
Bye.